You're listening to The Real Fan Review with Hav, Sanj, Al, and B.
What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from The Real Fan Review. Today we're going over the Snyder's Cut. We're going over Lovebirds and the movies we've seen this week, some movie news, talking about Jackpot and Madam Web. I have no idea who those people are. With me today, I got my brother B.
Bonjour.
Yeah, man. It's just you and I, bro.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. I think Sanj might jump in. Al said he might jump in, but if not, we got this, man. So let's go right into it, man. First things first. Biggest news of this week. Everybody lost their mind when Snyder Cut was made official. The Snyder Cut for Justice League is going to happen with HBO Max. They're talking about pumping $30 million into this thing, and then they're going to put it out in 2021 on HBO Max. It's a new service that they're going to be providing online for HBO movies and stuff like that. I think it's supposed to be like HBO and something else, right? HBO and Cinemax, or
yeah, and basically, so they're taking HBO's been very ambitious with its streaming. They had HBO Go, then HBO Now, and then HBO Now was like, nah, we're just back to Go. And now we're like, you know what, just HBO, it's just HBO Max. So I don't know what's going on with HBO and how they need to make a new streaming network every 7 months, but now we have HBO Max.
Yeah, man. And listen, if you want me to see it, you want me to get HBO Max, this is how you do it. Oh, man, we got Sanj in the building.
Fellas, what's up?
Hey, kid, what's going on, Sanj?
Not much. How you doing?
We're doing all right, man. We just get into it right now, man. We talk about HBO Max putting out a Snyder's Cut. $30 million being pumped into the Snyder's Cut there for Justice League. So I was just telling Brandon about it, and Sanj, man, I mean, you just jumped up in here, but what do you think, man? Is it worth it for this HBO Max to do this? $30 million into a movie that wasn't finished?
Listen. $30 million for HBO is like $30 for me. Right now, for entertainment, yeah, I'll spend the $30. You know, HBO got money.
You know what I find it like weird though? It's like they already have their Justice League movie. And I guess for me, this is more of a definitive thing that they don't really know what they're doing with the DCEU. Because could you imagine if Marvel put out a second Avengers Endgame movie with a whole different story? Like, I just can't see that happening. But to me, it's like, I get that it's not coming out in the theaters and people just want to see it. People have been asking for this for this Justice League Snyder's Cut. But to me, it's like, it would be confusing because now I don't know what to count as real. Because what if this Snyder Cut is really good? What if it sucks? But if it's really good, are the fans now going to be like...
You don't have to buy tickets.
That's what I was thinking about. Like, if this is
what happens?
Incredible, where do we go? Like, we've already ruled out any future installments of the Justice League. We started getting rid of cast members and saying how unimportant they are kind of now because, you know what, there's no need for Cyborg. We're having these issues with the Flash actor. You know, Gal Gadot's the only one killing it. Ben Affleck is, no longer Batman. We're not sure what Henry Cavill we're going to go with. We want him back, but where we're going to make it work. So now, if this movie comes out and kills it, you now have 4 out of 5 actors who currently aren't like signed on to do anything anymore, with this. You may have a potential Green Lantern and a Martian Manhunter, so you now have 2 added characters into this universe and a potential different Superman storyline because now we're going to explain the whole black Superman suit and what that meant, a young Darkseid, instead of Steppenwolf. So it's kind of crazy the thought what could happen because of this.
I know. I mean, I get that we're all adults and we can say, they just did that for fun. But I kind of feel like once you see it, it happened. You can't be like, oh, well, that's just nothing to do with anything. It was just for fun. You know? You kind of want to attach it, especially.
It's like you know what it's like. Yeah. It's like a Christmas party. It's like an office Christmas party, drunken hookup. You know what I'm saying?
Like, did it happen?
Like it happened, but we were drunk. So we're gonna go back to work and pretend like it didn't happen, but it was kind of awesome. So
So I don't know, like, I mean, I am so intrigued because of what we knew about the Snyder's Cut before,
Right.
it changed. And so, like, the fact that we're gonna have Green Lantern back, the fact that we're gonna have this whole Martian Manhunter story kind of thrown into this, that
Right.
Darkseid was in this, that we had all these other elements of a story that we were so looking forward to that we didn't get with the other version, with the Joss Whedon version, so like
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see where this could go, but I'm like torn because I know that there's a good chance that it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, man. I hear you, man. I mean, listen, I'm
But look,
excited to see it either way. So.
if enough people, if there's real buzz around it, enough people like, this is crazy, and it gets enough views and everything,
Mhm.
it could push them in the right direction to do all those things. I mean,
Right, to
at the end of the
continue.
day, they want to make money, so give people what they want. If people really show up for it like that,
Mhm.
then it's gonna, it's gonna catch on.
I'm just so
And so
surprised DC is on this. Like they're like, yeah, sure, why not?
exactly, I was surprised that they okayed this.
Warner
But
Brothers, especially, like
I have another question for you guys regarding the same kind of situation, and I'll go to Sanj first on this one. Does this set a bad precedent with fans? Right? You got to figure like Sonic. We complained, they changed Sonic. We've been asking for the Snyder Cut for God knows how long. We get the Snyder Cut. Do you think that? I mean, it's only been two examples, but do you think now, if fans know they complain big enough, loud enough, that we'll get what we want? Is this setting a bad precedent with things, or what do you guys think?
No, I don't think it is a bad. I don't think it is a bad precedent because it is art. One, first of all, and artists are allowed to express themselves in any way they want. But there's two sides of that. There's two parts of that social contract. Then, right? You're the
Right.
artist. You want me to see your stuff, right? That's why you do it. And if I don't like your stuff, I'm perfectly okay with saying so. I'm the consumer, you're the artist. If what you put out is not good and you're asking me to critique it, I'm gonna say this is not good and I don't like it.
Right.
If it's something that's near and dear to me that someone is taking up and saying I'm gonna put a product out there and you're trading on my nostalgia, you're trading on my love for a character, you're trading on all of those things. I
Right.
think there's a little bit of a responsibility there to be true to the character, to be true to the art, and give me your take on it while giving me your take on it as well. So if I don't like it and I complain about it, I think it's a good thing if they change it because Sonic is a perfect example. It was
Right.
horrible, and we complained, and then we got a really good movie out of it, right? So
Right.
I don't see it being a bad thing. It's one because when there is enough outcry where it's pretty everyone's pretty much in agreement, right? When you
Right.
have 70, 80, 90% of people saying, "Hey, this really is messed up," or "This really isn't right." And for
Right.
these very specific reasons, if we have very specific reasons, if we just like, oh, I don't like it, and we can't explain why, well, it's like,
Right.
what do you want? Or if it's just like a vocal minority or something like that of people that are just saying, this I don't like this for whatever reason,
Right.
right? But if a large group of people, if the majority of the people have a specific complaint, right,
Mhm.
there's probably something that you can do, right? Because you know what they're talking about, you know what the issue is, and it becomes at that point easy to correct.
Gotcha, man. And Brandon, man, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Because like I thought of a third example also was how they handled the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. I know you guys don't like Iron Man 3. A lot of us don't
yeah.
like
I
Iron
thought
Man
I thought
3.
there was only 2 Iron Man movies.
But you saw what they did after the movie came out, all the backlash. Then there's like, oh no, no, guys, there's a real Mandarin out there, and we'll do a
hmm
Marvel one shot. And now we also have, I forgot the guy's name now in the Legend of the Ten Rings,
Yeah.
the next one of the next Marvel movies there. So I was gonna say Shang Tsung, but that's
Yeah.
Mortal
Shang
Kombat.
Chi.
Shang-Chi, there you go.
Shang Chi.
So
Yeah.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten
Shang
Rings.
Tsung. Test
You're
your
so
might.
fine. Um, Brandon, man, what you think? What's your thoughts on that, man?
I agree with Sanjay. It's that same give and take relationship. I want to keep an eye on how this goes because, within the last 4 years, this whole cancel culture thing has been very shocking and kind of scary in a sense. And as of late, people. I don't even know if I want to say millennials. I don't know if this is specific to a certain group of people. But
It
as
is
of
not.
late, people have kind of identified trouble with Robert Downey Jr.'s role in Tropic Thunder. And they're like, "Oh, he did blackface. That's not cool. Cancel Robert Downey Jr." And it's just like, well, if you watch the movie, you understand the premise behind that characterization, that character's role. And it was like, I don't care. It's blackface. It's not right. So now you have this whole cancel culture against Robert Downey Jr., which isn't like, it's not huge, but
Right.
it's
But
it's
there's
one
a
of those
set
things.
group of people who are against
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
because that
Right.
was the same thing that, and I know the situation is very different. But the same thing that happened with Kevin Hart and the Oscars.
Right. Right.
He had that tweet from 2011 that was very homophobic, and I mean, in all sides of things, I don't want to get into it and how he handled it and such, but with the cancel culture of the things, it was a long battle that came
Right.
from nothing, and partly due to his response to it, but something that blew up. So I'm keeping my eye on this whole Robert Downey Jr. situation with Tropic Thunder, especially as a movie that came out over a decade ago now,
Right.
um, and seeing how that kind of develops with this cancel culture thing, because within the last month I've seen more of a rise in that,
Right.
and it's been across multiple groups, whether millennial, whether Gen Z, Gen X, whatever it may be. But it's something that can steer how art changes in the next couple years. How we're talking about how Sonic changed because us as the fans had this big outcry about it.
Right.
How else will people change in the future? Because like Sanjay said, if I don't like your art, I'm not going to see it because you're feeding on my nostalgia and I'm not happy about it. So what happens if they do a Ninja Turtles movies in the future and the design of the turtles looks whack? Are we going to always
Right.
have to outcry for a fix, or are we going to see it through? you know
Right.
so I want to see how this develops, because the way it looks like it's looking like we are heading towards more of a fan service type of art center base with movies.
Gotcha, man.
And I mean, whether that's good or bad, I don't know yet, but it seems like that's kind of the route we're going to be heading in, where movies may not be that ride that we don't know what's coming, because we are kind of choosing it for the directors of what to do in their movies. So I don't
I
know.
gotcha. Yeah, man. I mean, for my sake of it, I think that there are positives and there are negatives to this whole outcry of we don't like it, so change it. You know what I mean? So to me, there's going to be certain things where they should change it. Again, something like Sonic, I think, is something that was reasonable.
Yeah.
That was just completely not Sonic, and it would have been distracting. Had we watched that movie the whole time, we'd be looking at the VFX of Sonics and be like, that sucks.
And
We're
we would
not
have
going to even
and we would have
concentrate.
actually missed and we would have actually concentrated that on that and missed a good movie.
I missed a
Yeah.
great movie. You know what I mean? So I worry about things like that. But then with the Jack Snyder thing, again, I think more of the story, the lineage of the story of the DCEU. Granted, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm not sure they know what they're doing with it just yet, but to me, it's like you're going to show me two stories in the same extended universe. Which way are we going now? So it's a little confusing, but well, we'll see how it goes when it comes out, man. We'll definitely review it when it comes out, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about it
Well,
for sure, more
I
about it.
think I think the issue that you brought up though, I think it's different than cancel culture, because cancel culture centers more around like a social issue, like you were talking about,
Mhm.
Brandon, like Robert Downey Jr. doing supposedly blackface or whatever. And even with cancel culture, blackface is wrong. I agree, but if you're telling a story, context is important
Yeah.
too.
Context is
If you're
everything, yeah.
doing it in the story to explain why doing it is wrong, then there's a space for it. If you're
Hmm.
doing it to exploit a
Then
culture,
there.
Yeah.
then you're wrong. But so I think it's two separate issues. So I don't think the fan service part of it is part of the cancel culture. It's just like, yeah, this really sucks. Just
Yeah.
like we look at something and this just really is not good. It's just
Yeah.
not good art. It's not from us. It has nothing to do with the social message. It has nothing to do with any cultural misappropriation or appropriation, I should say. In that sense, it's just this is not a good. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. It does. The story's horrible or whatever. That's to me. That's more of a artistic integrity, maybe.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
All right, man. And then in other movie news, man, it looks like the movies are going to start resuming filming again this week, coming up. So, I mean, it sounds awesome, feels awesome. I'm hoping that they're following all the guidelines and
Yeah,
taking
I
care
hope
of
it's done in a
everybody.
safe way.
You know what I mean? As much as I love to see and hear that movies are coming back and they're going to start production again, the more I'm concerned for people and for their health and their safety. But I guess it's kind of like a sign of things slowing down and things coming back to somewhat of a normalization. But I guess it's good to hear the movies are on their way back. Brandon, any thoughts on the movie theaters? Not movie theaters, but the movie studios out there starting to record again and film.
I think it comes with the time right now. Is everyone from movies to small businesses to any business in general, they're trying to find ways, and they've already created plans and models for reopening or reestablishing themselves. So I guess they found a way to reestablish how to make movies given the circumstances currently. So I hope that this still leads to movies being made with the quality that we want it to be and we'd like to see. As like you said, keeping with the safety of our actors and everyone on the set and producers and such.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to see. I'm excited to hear that things are kind of getting back on a track of some
Right.
sorts. So I'm happy to see that we're gonna have those movies coming back. We have that kind of enjoyment that we've been waiting for. That's going to be happening somewhat soon now.
Absolutely, man. And Sanjay, yourself, man, these movies thinking about starting to film again, and thoughts?
I have real mixed feelings about it because on the one hand, there's so much more to the movies than just the actors, the directors, and everything. There's a whole trucking industry. Just just one part of it. Just there's a whole trucking industry around movies that move all the equipment from one place to another, and those truckers are out of work right now.
Right.
They're not on salary. They go by the jobs, the strike teams, the people that set up, the people that take down. There's the movie industry. There's so many people involved and so many jobs
Absolutely.
that people right now are just not at work and not making any money, and they have real anxiety about what's happening with their lives. I mean, Hav, you and I, we've had to go into work every day, but I count that as much as it was a hazard and a dangerous situation for us, right? I still counted it as a privilege because I could have been out of work. And
Right,
then,
so getting checks.
So and then on the flip side of it, you and I were on the front line. We saw what it was day in, day out, the amount of death and everything. So on the one hand, I'm like, I want everybody to be safe. I want everybody to stay home until we know absolutely for a fact that we can go outside like 12 months ago when we didn't even know what coronavirus was.
Right, exactly.
And it wasn't a concern.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever go back to that kind of life because I think it's always going to be in the back of our mind now. Even if we cure coronavirus with a vaccine, I think we're always going to be thinking about what the next thing is coming, because if it can happen once, it's going to happen again in some way. But so I'm trying to figure out how I feel. So I really have those mixed feelings. I want people back at work. I'm more concerned about people in their livelihoods and them not losing, their homes and lives and things like that. But at the same time, I want everybody to be safe from a health standpoint.
Absolutely.
And if I felt confident about the information that we were getting from our leaders, then I could say like I have good feelings or I have bad feelings about it one way or the other. If I felt that the information was good and the information said stay at home and people were choosing, and then we're opening the movie, I say, well, that's bad, right? Because the good information is saying stay at home. But we haven't, the information is spotty, and the information is we don't know how trustworthy it is. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, man. what's it called? And then into the actual like movies of themselves now. A little bit of a more happier topics. Scream 5 is being produced, and our boy Dewey's coming back.
Woo! Officer Dewey.
And this Scream 5 is being produced by the people who made Ready or Not. And just shout out to Al right there, our man in the chair who loved Ready or Not. He's telling me you need to see it. So I'm actually getting Ready or Not this weekend or this week to go see it. So hopefully I'll come back with some good news about Ready or Not. But what's your thoughts on Scream 5 coming back out there?
I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, I love the Scream movies. Great concept.
Right.
I'm interested in seeing how they bring it into this new age. I mean, this is something we've talked about a long time ago with how MTV brought in their own Scream series and brought it into modern times. So I'm interested in how this movie series gets brought into this era. You know, are we gonna have that FaceTime, nightmare? You know, are we gonna have, how are we gonna do these thrills? How does smart homes come into this concept now? If that's the thing they're thinking, how do you
Right.
get the home to turn on the person other than just whatever his name was? I forgot his name. It was like Scream Face or something like that.
Was it Ghostface or something like that, or-
Ghostface, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I'm excited to see how they can use this modern age with this movie. So that could be interesting. I'm very excited.
All right. I mean, Sanj, man, it's been a couple years since Scream 4. What's your thoughts on Scream 5 coming out, man?
Once they got Officer Dewey coming back, I'm there.
Gonna get stabbed in the back again.
Absolutely.
Again.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy about Scream, man? I watched Scream 1 maybe 2 months ago, and I still enjoy Scream 1 like it's like I just saw it for the first time, man. It's insane. It's even the opening scene still gets me like, wow, it's just you want to play what is it? You want to play a game? Not play a game. It's
Have you seen any scary movies or?
yeah, right? So crazy, man. All right, man. So that was Scream 5 there. And now I think you guys are going to have to help me out with this stuff because maybe I thought I knew Spider-Man. I thought I was all about Spider-Man my entire life growing up. And now these guys are talking about the Sony people making this Spider-Man universe, right?
Mhm.
They're making a movie called Jackpot and also Madam Web. Now,
Yeah.
I've seen some videos about Madam Web, but I have no clue who Jackpot is.
I actually have no recollection of Jackpot. All I know of Jackpot is that she has some kind of invulnerability, and there's been two different Jackpots, but I don't know what role she plays in Spider-Man. So this is actually something I'm a little aloof to.
Yeah.
I know a lot about Madam Web, so I'm interested because the concept behind Madam Web is that she's kind of like the guardian of like the multiverse or the Spider-Verse as you say it. So she's kind of
Right.
like the one that comes to Peter to like when they have like an issue in the multiverse kind of a thing. And she was the one who showed him all the different Spider-Man across the universe and all these different Peter Parkers and such.
Right.
So that's kind of been her role. So I guess there's never really been more than that other than her being the Spider Connect, to these powers and such and universes. So I
Right.
don't know how they're gonna bring her in because usually when she's involved, there's also the Beyonder, if you guys know who the Beyonder is. So the
Yeah.
Beyonder also steps in, and they kind of did like the Secret Wars thing. Um, so I don't know if this is gonna be like an origin story for her because I don't really know if they need one, given her role in the comics themselves, unless they want to build off of that and make her maybe Spider Woman in the end or something like that.
Yeah.
For Sword. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do for it. I just hope it works out because knowing Sony, I know they like to try a lot for the sake of trying. So
Right.
I'm hoping this is something that's worth concepts. But
I hear you, man.
I know nothing of Jackpot actually.
Yeah, Sanj, I mean, listen, they're thinking about making Charlize Theron Madam Web for the Spider-Verse, which would be an
I
interesting
hear that.
take. And but I've never heard of Jackpot, and I'm still looking forward to something. It's just more
I
movies.
I gotta
Let's
go
go.
do some. I gotta go do some homework now to figure out who these characters are. Because remember, there's a
Right.
long time between when we were, when we stopped buying comic books and now.
Exactly, yeah. Once
You
Brandon
know,
said he didn't know, I knew we were done.
yeah, we.
Ah, shit.
I mean, it's not like there's some sort of resource that we could just
Hmm.
just tap into and download or be able to extract information from at any time. It's not
Right.
like that exists.
No access to anything like that at all. No. And then the last bit of news for this week, man, is there's rumors going around right now that the Oscars may not be doing their show this year because of what the situation here with the coronavirus. And, there's been a lull in movies for the last 2, 3 months. And I'm not sure how I feel about this because I,
Well,
I think if they're still, go
I
for it, son.
feel I feel really great about that because I
Yeah.
feel that it is an opportunity for the realies to fill a niche. I
Yeah,
mean,
we're still gonna do our realies.
we're still gonna do the real. We are still here for the fans. We
Yeah,
still
and you
care.
know what?
And if
Actually,
the
for the
Oscars
fans,
don't care about the
yeah.
fans, we care about the fans.
If anyone hasn't seen our episode, The Realies, which is a 2019 recap with awards, it's actually one of our funniest episodes there. We'll put a link to it at the end of the video on YouTube, or
Pew,
if you're on
pew,
the
pew.
podcast, actually, if you're on the podcast, just look it up. It's called The Realies, or I forgot which episode number it is, but definitely look it up. The Realies for us. We did a great job on that one because it was freaking funny as hell, that one.
That was so much fun. That was so much fun.
But with the Oscars there, Brandon, man, what's your
The
thoughts, man?
awkward
No
boner.
Oscars this year. The awkward boner award. That was insane. um, because my feeling is there's still movies coming out in 2020, so it's like it's not no one's movie's fault that they came out in 2020 that all this stuff happened. So there should still be something for the people who came out in 2020. You shouldn't just
And
lump it
like,
all up into one thing.
let's be honest. I feel I personally I've never been a fan of the Oscars because I feel like the Oscars have always been one of those shows that highlight just the artistic films,
Hmm.
in whatever
They'll have
form
no
that
chance
takes.
now.
Like you already have something like 1917 and Jojo Rabbit, right? So like those movies came out, those were the artistic movies, and those are the only ones that are gonna be really up for anything, you know. Wait, those are 2019, right? Correct?
Yeah,
Am I wrong?
2019. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm wrong. So like, if you think
So
about
this
it,
year it
like,
would be Sonic, Invisible Man,
is Sonic
and
gonna win
Gentleman.
Best Picture of the Year? Like, let's be honest. Like, come on. So like, I feel like I've never been one for the Oscars because it's always been about the art base. Like, let's say, does Fast 9 really have a shot there? You think Vin Diesel's winning his Oscar for Best Movie of the Year? Like, come on.
No.
So I feel like it's never been a good platform. Whereas our realies, which I mean, unshameful pitch here, I feel like we focus on all the movies in every shape and form.
Uh,
So the Oscars, I've never really cared because unless it's been some kind of masterpiece movie, it doesn't get any recognition. Like, has Endgame ever been given an award? Like even for anything? So.
right.
Considering their choices of movies and what they call art and cinema, I just never really liked it.
So you don't care.
I don't really care.
Go to hell, Oscars.
Let's watch the realies.
It's been same for you, man, because I know last year was like the first year you watched it in a while.
I tend to agree with Brandon.
Mhm.
If you're not considering, you can't call yourself an award show for theater if you're not gonna represent all of theater. They are very picky and choosy about
Yeah.
what they choose to consider for an award. So again, I'd never been watching the award shows like that anyway, so it really doesn't make a difference to me.
I hear
I
you,
mean,
man.
I'm just glad I caught Eminem's performance.
Knees bent, arms spaghetti. Oh man. All right, man. Well, listen, that's everything for the news for this week, man. And we'll get to everything else now. Now, one of the things we were all going to try to watch this week was the Lovebirds, which was supposed to be coming out in the theaters about a month ago. Netflix scooped it up and put it out.
Swoop.
And let me tell you something. They did a good choice. They made a good choice. I don't know, Brandon. You said you didn't get a chance to see Lovebirds.
No, I didn't get a chance this week,
Okay.
but because it came out, I thought it came out earlier in the week, and I was like, oh, it comes out Friday, and I
Yeah.
was away this week, so I came back today. I'm like, I'm gonna watch it tonight, but
Yeah.
I have been looking forward to that movie because the trailers, it does look like a movie that I wasn't gonna go see in the theaters,
Right.
um, but it looked like something I would see at home. Well, now that I'm at home, I'm definitely gonna watch it.
And you should watch it. Sanj, did you get a chance to watch it?
Absolutely. So on the from an opposite perspective, Nina and I were actually we couldn't wait to see this movie, and we would have absolutely gone to see it in the theaters on opening night, probably, had things been normal, because not because of it's a rom-com or anything like that, but because it's us. So, I'm clearly an Indian man and such, and Nina is a black woman. And, so for us, it's just great to see, even though their story is nothing like our story, or anything like that. We don't hate each other and like want to kill each other at the same time or whatever. But, it's just good to see representation matters,
Absolutely.
in sense, so that you see a relationship like yours. And then for me, especially, seeing an Indian guy in a leading role without being a stereotypical Indian guy or whatever. Like, they didn't make him talk in like an accent or anything like that. And he's clearly a love interest, and whatnot. So, and then what I really liked about the movie is that as much as those, social and racial issues were there, that's not what the story was about.
No, they didn't harp on it. They mentioned it, joked about it, and that was it.
Right, exactly. Like I didn't feel like that. They could have been like, that story could have been any couple, and within any demographic. It could have been a lesbian couple. It could have been a gay couple. It could have been an ordinary, a couple where they're both the same race or whatever. That story could have been any couple, right? And just been funny the way it was.
Absolutely.
And been cool. But for me, that added a cool aspect to it for us to just see more of that in media,
Yeah, absolutely, man. So listen, without spoiling it, because Brandon didn't see it, and a lot of people who probably listen it, they probably have access to the Netflix, and there's not a lot of things to watch out there. So we won't spoil this one. We'll just give a regular review on this one. And so me and Sanj will talk about it really quickly. I think this story was so entertaining and so funny. The wife and I just sat up. We ordered some Panera and just sat down and watched it, man. And it was a good time, man. I gotta say, the chemistry between Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae was absolutely believable. It was funny. It was cute. There was moments I was like, oh. I actually awed to one of the movie scenes on there. And as far as it being a comedy, man, there's definitely going to be scenes that are going to make you laugh, and you're gonna enjoy this one if you get a chance to watch it, man. And the story itself was fantastic. I thought it was a good story. It was believable. It was just very interesting. And
I'm surprised they were able to pull off so much of the movie with a straight face and not like I had to see outtakes of like from behind the scenes, because they had to be dying laughing.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like
yeah,
I don't think I could have pulled it off if I was the actor. I would have been laughing the whole time doing the scene. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely, man. And what'd you think of their chemistry? Sounds like Issa Rae and Kumail Nanjiani.
I believed it.
Right?
Yeah. And where they showed, not too much of a spoiler or anything like that, how they showed like right at the beginning of their relationship, and then they fast forward and whatnot. Like, they were totally believable in both settings. And it was just like, it was kind of cool. It was kind of awkward, like how they were like were with each other. But that's what relationships are really like. Sometimes, like, you could see that there's so much other stuff going on in each of their heads, but like they're not saying what they really want to say at that time. And like, that is so like a relationship. Like, sometimes you get upset about something, and it's like you don't know how to express it to your significant other, and it's just like you just want to understand, but then they can't understand because you're not explaining yourself right. So it was so believable. It was real. It was just so real to me.
Right. It really was, man. And what'd you say about the comedy itself and the story?
It seemed unique, you know what I mean? Like, the story wasn't it didn't seem like recycled in any way. It didn't seem like a million other rom-coms that we've seen
exactly
or whatever. So it was just a really nice original story.
Fresh, man.
Refreshing. And there wasn't much to it. There wasn't any like overarching social message. It wasn't heavy. You didn't have to think about it much, but at the same time, they really turned in great performances. Like, Issa Rae is so talented, and she just puts more of her talent on display
Yeah, man.
in
She's
this.
fantastic.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Like everything she does is gold. So I just thought it was great.
You know what, man? And if anything, this movie makes me look forward to them in other movies because it just really sold me on their characters or themselves, how they acted, how they played these roles. It makes me honestly look forward to seeing them in other movies too. So let's just get right into the review of it, Sanj. You know, for myself, I have like a series of things of how I arrange certain things. For me, I'm gonna say you should see this movie because especially right now, you're home, you're hanging out, you're doing pretty much just nothing. Definitely you should see it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say you need to see this, which is the top, like almost my 5 out of 5 rating, but you definitely should see it because it's a good time. It's a good story, good characters, and a good time. Sanj, yourself?
I would say the same exact thing. Go see it. You're home, and you're not going to be disappointed in any way, and you're actually going to be, very, very impressed with it.
Absolutely, man. And then, Brandon, we'll get back to you on this one here, man. Bring you back into the fold. Brady, you got a chance to watch? Did you get a chance to watch any kind of movies this week? I know you pretty much been knocking out movies out the box this month, man.
Got a lot of
Last
time.
2 months, you're killing it, man.
I got to watch Scoob this week, and
Oh, me too.
holy cow, that movie was so good.
I was surprised, man.
I was
really was
extremely
surprised.
surprised that I laughed, I enjoyed it, and I almost cried like 3 times. It was so good.
You're becoming soft in your old age, bro.
Like I
Just
was
like your
cracking up.
bro.
Like I was watching it and I didn't expect anything of it. I just wanted to see it, you know. And even like the first 5 minutes of the movie are so cute, you know, like it's just like it's a good time. You're like, oh, that's cool, that's nice. And how it goes on the story from there, and like there's such great moments, especially I really have to give a credit to the voice cast for this movie. You know, like Zac Efron, you know,
That's Fred.
as Fred with he played a great Fred. And as funny as like in this movie they all played the people you thought they were in the cartoons that kind of weren't fleshed out. Like you kind of thought Fred was kind of like a bumbling idiot, you know, but like he always seemed really cool with his ascot, you know, and he was always driving the mystery machine. And like he's really an idiot, like, you know. So like they played on that, you know. And it was really cool. I mean, not to give anything away, but the assortment of Hanna-Barbera characters that were in this movie that actually
Yes.
worked in the movie, you know, and they weren't just thrown in there because they're Hanna-Barbera. Now, there are a lot of Easter eggs, and if you catch them, there's a lot of posters and arcade games and kind of speed maps that reference the other Hanna-Barbera characters. But it was really cool. I mean, even like the villainous plot, I don't want to give it away, but like everything in the movie just worked really well and culminated in a really satisfying movie that you really enjoyed watching.
Oh
And
yeah.
then right at the end of the movie, really tugged your heartstrings for a long time. They played on that for a while, man. And that was a great movie. I really liked it.
All right, man. Same here, man. Listen, I gotta tell you the truth. I rented the movie the next day because you wrote you almost cried to this movie. So the next day I was like, I looked at my son, I was like, you want to watch the Scoob? He goes, sure, Dad. I'm like, let's go. So me and my 4-year-old tried to watch it. My mom joined in, and we just watched the movie, man, and it was so cute. The
think it was
first
really
like 10,
well
15
done.
minutes was ridiculous. But the ending almost got me too. I was like, okay, hold it in. Hold it in. Your son's watching.
There's like 2 parts of the ending where you're just like, oh wow, oh okay.
But like you said, some of the characters that I didn't know were in the movie, I was like, oh shoot, that's I didn't, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say who it was in there, but there was a couple of characters that caught me off guard that they were in the movie, and then I could hear some of the voice actors, so I knew who some of them were.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows who Tracy Morgan is, he's in the
Oh
movie.
my god,
He is
it was so
hilarious.
good. And a classic Hanna-Barbera character too.
Yes, man.
Oh,
Yes.
great.
And just not to spoil it or anything, but there's one joke in here that I had to pause the movie. And if Fred goes to Scoob, I can't get that smell out of the car. And Scoob goes, I said I needed to go for a walk. Dude, I was rolling.
There are some good jokes in this movie, man.
Oh my
I
god.
laughed way too many times than I wanted to in this
You know, my
movie.
mom was rolling with this movie. Now, Sanj, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, but you
So
got the
right,
two kids.
so
You got to
we
do it.
were we were eating dinner, and our plan was to watch Scoob while we ate dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, dinner started later than we planned,
Yeah.
so I was watching and I had to run down here to start
Yeah,
the
yeah.
start the podcast.
I hear
So
you, man.
I got to see some of it. I definitely got to see the joke. When you said there was one joke that I had to pause it, I knew exactly what you were going to say.
I said I had to
I
go
did
for a
go
walk.
for a walk.
That's hilarious, man. But listen, Sanj, you go finish that bad boy up because I'm gonna say you should see Scoop.
You should see Scoob, man.
So good, man. And then this one, man, I gotta talk to Sanj on this one because I think Sanj said he liked it a lot on this one. And I'm realizing maybe I'm not as much of a Tarantino fan as I think I am. I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Mhm.
Dude, for like an hour and a half, I'm like, these guys are just living their fucking life and I'm watching. Like, what is happening here? They're just like, he's going to work and I'm watching him go to work. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Now, I get the ending, the payoff is great because it's kind of like, I guess I would say like a wishful thought or wishful dream that you thought this happened because what actually happened is not what they showed in the screens, and we won't go into that because it was pretty bad. But what they did was kind of payback, but in Hollywood version. And I like the ending, but 2 hours and a half of just watching this shit was like it was almost torture, man. I mean, I'm gonna say for, for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for myself, Once Upon a Hollywood is you should see it if you're a Tarantino fan. But man, you do not need to see this unless you're a Tarantino fan. Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you because I thought the dialogue was entertaining. That's what did it for me.
If it wasn't for the dialogue, I would have shut it off. But what's shocking? What's shocking is I felt the same way with Pulp Fiction. What was the other one? I've never been crazy about the Kill Bill series, which is crazy. Everyone loves Kill Bill.
What
Dude,
Kill Bill? Like what? What? Do I even know you right now?
I don't think the Tarantino's style is my flavor, man. It's so crazy. It really is. The only one I really remember liking is Reservoir Dogs.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I actually kind of really liked it.
You too. Wow.
Yeah, I liked it. Especially when they went to the ranch. And
The ranch thing was tense. It was tense in the ranch. But even the ranch, you think something's gonna happen. Like, oh shoot, this guy is dead. This guy, nah, he's really just sleeping.
He's just taking a nap. She
She
told
told him.
She told him he's taking a nap.
She said, after his brains out, he's sleeping.
It was really funny. Is like I had to really think about how Brad Pitt is as an actor while watching this movie because I had to think, I'm like, isn't this just the way he talks? Like, is he acting right now?
Even at the end when Leonardo DiCaprio's character tells him, you're a good friend. He's like laying there being pushed into the ambulance, and he's like, I try.
I try for it. I try. I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
That was so good.
So man, Once Upon a Time I didn't like it, but you guys actually like it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. That's cool, man.
And
then
that's why I sent you a text message after I finished watching it because I know about the history and I was confused for a second. I'm like, wait, that's not how that went. I was like, that's not how that went.
That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
So I was like, really, like, I was taken back for a second, and I texted Hob. I'm like, I don't know if you've seen this or not. I'm like, but did I see this wrong? Like, do I recall this wrong? So I don't know. It was crazy.
Absolutely, man. And then I'll say one last movie that I saw. I swear I didn't watch any more than four. I actually saw The Way Back with Ben Affleck, man. And let me tell you guys, man, that was really good. The Way Back. I thought it was gonna be your typical, basketball movie, and it wasn't a basketball movie. And it was a real story about someone coming over there, trying to get over their vice. You know what I mean? And it's just nuts to watch and see. It doesn't end great. It has a good ending, but at the same time, he does suffer some losses there, and it's just. I would recommend people to see this, man. I think you should see The Way Back, man. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that movie yet.
I did see The Way Back.
Yeah.
I definitely watched it because of that basketball was a theme in it.
Mhm.
Like any movie that has basketball is the underlying theme. I'm gonna watch, of course. I remember when I was a kid. What was it? It was either He Got Game
Like
or no.
Mike.
Mhm.
Yeah, no. It was White Man Can't Jump, right?
Right.
And Woody Harrelson and Rosie Perez. It's that scene where he comes in and he he gets her on the bed and whatever, and my mom walks in while I'm watching that scene. My mom and dad walk in while like that scene, right? So it's very, very suggestive when you're a kid, right? And like this is like the one time my dad backed me up or whatnot with my mom
Yeah.
and whatnot, and she's just like, "Oh, what are you watching?" Whatever. My dad's like, "Whoa, it's a basketball movie. He didn't know about this part. He wanted to watch it because it's basketball. Kid loves basketball. Give him a break. Watch the movie." And I was just like, "What?" But anyway.
Rewind.
I thought, the Way Back, of course, was about him overcoming his alcoholism. But at first, even that they really twist you as well
Mhm.
in that, because you're just like, oh, this guy's just an asshole, right?
Right.
And right,
And then the
you just
story
think
goes.
right, and it just goes and it goes and goes, and then you find out why. And then when
I
you
thought that
find
was
out,
amazing because they made you think that he was just an alcoholic, just to
right,
get
like
up.
I did not like him. I did not have any sympathy for him or any empathy for him whatsoever until they twist you and you find
Mhm.
out why, and then I'm like, I'm the bad person, not Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is not the bad person. I'm the bad person, And
He's
then
a sweetheart. You blame me now.
right, blame me now, right?
It's
You
my turn.
yeah, exactly. But it just kind of puts it in perspective when you see what it is. It's like you see, you know, how you can be driven to it, and as a coping mechanism, or just life can get that hard. There are things that can happen that are that hard, and there's just no way out for it. And I think movies like that need to be made as well, so that we can start to or continue to have more sympathy, more empathy for people and the things that they go through, and
Exactly.
count ourselves lucky that we have not had to go through these things, because like part of the movie too was that not only they had a community of people that they'd shared the specific type of trauma that they had gone through,
Right.
so it's just like, even like you look at it, like there are communities of people out there that are going through these things, and just because you don't have to go through it doesn't mean it's not happening,
Absolutely, man. It actually taught me something about myself too. Like, as much as it was like, just a movie at the same time, to myself, I'm like, I'm watching this guy and I was prejudging. And as soon as you hear the reason why he was drinking so much, you're just like, oh shit. Like you almost feel for him, like, bro, have one on me. Like
No, and when
yeah,
I saw why, I'm like, okay, this would probably be me too.
yeah,
Like to be quite honest, you know,
absolutely. Yeah.
if that would probably be me too, and like just the
If
aspect of
that's what takes the pain away, if
that's
that's
what
what
takes
takes the pain away,
right.
you know what I mean? So it's crazy, man. But if anyone hasn't seen The Way Back and didn't give it a chance, I would definitely say give it a chance. It's a good movie, man. It's a really good movie. Uh,
Ben Affleck was great.
fantastic, fantastic Ben Affleck, man. Brandon, man, anything else, man, besides Scoob or just Scoob this week?
Just this week, Scoob.
All
A
right.
busy work week, so I actually had to work.
Oh, all right, man.
Let's
Sanj, how
see if I
about
can go through
yourself,
next
man?
week.
You catch
So
anything, Sanj?
I did. This was actually a pretty good week for movies. Last night I watched The Banker with Chadwick. I'm not sure. Oh my, I almost said Chadwick Boseman. Anthony Mackie
Anthony
and
Mackie, yeah.
and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah,
So
that's on Apple Movies or Apple iTunes or something like that.
it's on something.
Yeah. Continue.
I pushed buttons and it came on. Just don't ask me which buttons I pushed. I mean, we've got everything up there: Hulu, Netflix, everything's up there. I'm like, ooh,
Right.
there it is. I'm like, okay. But yeah, so it was a really good movie. It was based on a true story about two African American guys in the 50s and 60s who revolutionized. They started off in real estate, buying properties in all white neighborhoods, and basically they were integrating neighborhoods by just buying the properties,
Right.
and renting them out. And then they decided to buy banks, and it showed how they went about doing it as two black men who couldn't, who, had they known it was two black men buying the bank,
Right.
they would have never been able to buy the bank. So,
Mhm.
they had to get help, of course, without giving away too much of the story. And the story around that is made for a very interesting watch. And
Gotcha.
it's just a reminder of how far removed we are not
Mhm.
from the times when people of color just couldn't do certain things,
Yeah,
and how
man. And you want
difficult
to believe it was like hundreds of years ago, and it was really like maybe
it's
about
not.
50. Yeah,
It was
not
not.
even
Yeah,
50.
exactly. It was that. So that was good. And then my daughter, she's been singing A Million Dreams all week. So then she wanted to watch The Greatest Showman. So
Uh-huh.
which was a rewatch for me, and I love that movie. It was just an incredible.
Really? You love that movie? I've never seen it.
Well, I mean, and Brandon will agree with me on this. When a movie has a great, especially a musical, has great music. If a
Yeah.
movie has great music and a great performance to go along
Yeah.
with the music, and those musical performance scenes were just incredible. You would never think that Wolverine had that kind of singing and dancing.
Oh yes.
Like
Oh yeah.
Wolverine definitely has a soft side.
Yeah. A little tender heart there
Yeah, you got
underneath the animanium.
no, yeah,
He's
but
like swing, swing.
no, I love Greatest Showman and just the music from it too. And
Awesome, man.
and then my daughter had a great time watching it as well. So
Fantastic.
that's just that's just the icing on the cake right there.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, man. Well, listen, man, it's always good to hear what you guys watch this week, and I'm sure you guys are gonna watch at least one or two movies this week. So we'll definitely talk about those movies again next week. And then I think for myself coming up, I'm probably gonna see, like I said, Ready or Not this week. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about that next week. Because Al's been overhyping Ready or Not. So
And you know what? Al has not steered us wrong
no, he hasn't, man. That's why
ever
I'm so
with a
looking forward
with a
to it.
movie.
Ready or Not's good, especially the actress Samara Weaving. She's real good. The
All
movie's
right.
good.
So I'm gonna check that out this week, man. And then the last thing we're gonna end this on is just a quick thought and opinion on something. So we always try to give our thoughts out there and give people like a little insight into how we think about certain things and situations that deal with movies. So after watching The Lovebirds, I looked over at the wife and I said, "How far you think we'd make it?" She goes, "Oh no, I would have called the police." She wouldn't even have tried to run. Old Hav would have ran, but I'm still running.
I'm keeping
But
my mouth shut.
but I thought it was a really funny thing because then I pictured, Brandon with his fiance, Sanj and his wife in those situations. I could definitely see Sanj trying to make a run for it.
I'm out.
Oh my God. 1, 2, 3.
I'm out. Out.
Because I mean, if you everyone's seen the trailers to the Lovebirds, so we won't be spoiling it by saying what happens here. So in Lovebirds, what happens? They're driving in a car together, Camille Nanjiani and Issa Rae, and they their car gets commandeered by someone saying that they're a police officer, and the police officer chases this guy on a bike and runs him over.
About
And
10
runs him over
times.
again, and then gets out the car and runs off. So that's what happens, and they get pretty much framed. Almost, it looks like they kind of get framed because what happens is they get out the car, someone notices them, and they think they're the ones who ran them over, so they go on the run. So, Sanj, you put yourself in that situation, brother. How long you lasting with wifey out there?
I mean, she's pretty smart, so
Yeah,
we might make it.
yeah.
I
Hey,
mean,
Brent,
she's
go for it.
definitely like would have high anxiety, but she's pretty smart. So I have, I'm brave and she's smart. So
Together.
hopefully we would hope that, those two parts of our personalities we'd rely on those two parts of our personalities as opposed to her anxiety and my stupidity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, if that's what prevails, we're screwed.
Oh my God. Brandon, how about you, man? You're the fiance, man. You're stuck in one of these situations. How long you guys lasting on the run?
Oh God, we are lasting an approximate of 30 seconds because Dawn has the anxiety will go through the roof. So like I got pulled over once and she went into like immediate anxiety. What do we do? What's going on? Oh, you think he's gonna arrest us? I don't know what's going on. It was the guy came up with someone who goes, yeah, you were just going really fast, buddy. Like, she's like, and then the whole trip she's looking at my speedometer the whole time. You're going over the speed limit. It's a 35. You're going 36. So I feel like in that situation, I would probably want to get out, and Tom would have a panic attack on the spot, and we wouldn't be able to go anywhere. So it's
Brandon
gonna be one
will
of
turn
those
himself
calls
in.
I have to run. I'm either gonna have to run without her, or just sit there and just embrace it and just take it, like whatever.
Brandon will turn
I'll be
himself in out of annoyance.
I'm just gonna be there laying on the ground already with my hands behind my back by the time they get there. I already know. Just go. Just do it.
Oh man, I hear you guys, man. Listen, man, I always thank you guys for sharing those opinions with us, man, and sharing them online for the world. Always awesome to hear those things, man. But listen, man, we're gonna end the podcast on that one there. We have Memorial Day coming up tomorrow, so we also want to send our thoughts with anyone who has family members that served or people who are serving. We appreciate you and thank you for what you do. And, we'll come back to you guys next week with some more topics for news of the week and also some movie reviews there. And also, just our sense of humor there with movies and things like that. So we want to thank you guys for subscribing, for listening on the podcast. You can find us on all your favorite podcast apps. If you are subscribing on the video, just hit the subscribe button on YouTube and you can comment on the right below there and let us know your thoughts on any of our topics today. If you want to reach us, you can reach us at therealfanreview@gmail.com or go to our website, therealfanreview.com. And again, we're a weekly podcast of friends just talking movies, man. So we love for you guys to join in the conversation. And we're coming out of New York. We're going to sign off for today. We have my boy Sanj.
Good evening, everybody. It was a pleasure to be with you.
And we got my brother B.
Au revoir.
And myself, Hob, saying good night. We'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night.
Good night.